Hello and welcome to the FFW Podcast with me, Andrew Gibney. Joining me again, we've got Jeremy Smith back, and we're happy that he's still in his sick bed. He's still struggling, but we've got Rich Allen here with us. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hello.
All good? Apart from Rich who's got scurvy, but
as well as can be expected.
At least you're putting the sick voice on. You're doing a good job if you work hard.
Hey, look, I've over the last 3 weeks. It seems like I've had to perfect it.
You did a good job. I'm almost convinced. If you are going on this live, make sure you get your questions to us. If not, thanks for listening and downloading the podcast. We're going to start this week. We have to start with Sunday's game as PSG squeezed by Lille Troyes to clinch their fourth consecutive Ligue 1 title. I mean, 9-0. I think my friend Adam summed it up when he just takes back 9-0. Really, this is like the shock. And to me, the shock is they scored 9 goals, but realistically, that is kind of the gap between those two teams. Really should be 9 goals, and PSG did it in style. Jeremy, it was a 4-goal conclusion, taking on a team that only won twice. We won't mention who one of those wins was against, but I mean, Troyes nearly went 1-0 up as well. They nearly sort of spoiled the party, but it was just it was a 4-goal conclusion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the stat that's been doing the rounds a lot this week is that PSG in one match scored more goals at Troyes than Troyes have managed all season, which says it all.
Yeah, it does.
And we've spoken a lot about how a lot of Ligue 1 is very tight this year, but that's except for 2 teams, one at the top and one at the bottom. So, it's a massive golfing class, and the only possibility or hope for Troyes, I don't think there was any hope that they'd get a point, but the only sort of possible hope for them was that PSG, sort of in between a couple of Champions League matches, would maybe be taking it easy, resting a few players, whatever, and would settle for a couple of goals difference. But it was Monaco, I think. Monaco's draw changed that because it gave them the chance to clinch the title in style. It was a nice sunny day. That probably improved things for them as well. And as if they needed any help, they also had Saunier kind of playing more for them than for Troyes.
You missed that chance early on, then Saunier gives the ball away later on, scores their own goal because they were having trouble finding the back of the net themselves. And I felt really, really sorry for Mathieu Dreyer in the Troyes goal because he actually played really well. It made Cavani look average, which is always great. It took him sort of 4 shots to score 2 goals, which should have took 2. And Rich, one player I was impressed by was Javi Pastore. Looked in the mood. I know Jez is one of his biggest critics. Of course, he does it against Troyes, but won't do it against the bigger teams. But it was good to see him back and looking lively and sort of entertaining and looking to make things happen.
It is. He's been missed this season because he's again for me in one of that rare breed of PSG player, in that he's actually quite a likeable person. So it was good to see him back. There was a few standout performances. His was definitely one of them. The result was always going to happen, and I think honestly, although you're not going to predict a 9-0 scoreline, I think a fair few people probably would have predicted a significant hammering here because Troyes just look. There's nothing left in them. It's like just give them the relegation, put them out of their misery. And I think PSG just saw a chance to perhaps shut perhaps a few of us critics up in putting in a performance of that level and a scoreline of that level to sort of hammer home their dominance throughout the season.
Yeah, because they could have 20 minutes in, you're 3-0 up, they could have just took the foot off the gas as they have done so many times, but fair play to them, and possibly because Zlatan hadn't scored yet, he came out the second half and thought, I'm stealing all the headlines here, getting 4. And then, Jeremy, probably the most interesting thing to come from the game was afterwards, when Zlatan did say that he wouldn't be in Paris next season. We've got a question from George Rinaldi asking if we think Zlatan will opt for either the Premier League or Serie A in the summer. And I think the narrative, #narrative, is for him to go to England and kind of finally show what he can do in the best league in the world, trademark, etc. Where do you think he will go? And where do you think the best move for him would be?
I think he's probably more likely to go back to Italy, actually. I think if he was going to go to England, he'd have gone a while ago. I can't bear this whole, Zlatan's kind of done it a couple of times now against us. He now sort of deserves to be. We'll let him into our league now. I just think, as good a season as he has, and saying, I'm only just getting started and things like that. I think, physically it is gradually taking its toll, and I think move to the Premier League is a little bit of a risk. I know, obviously, with his ego, I'm sure he thinks that he can do a job, and I'm sure he will be able to a certain point. But I think he's more likely to go back to Italy, where he clearly really enjoyed his time there. He knows what to expect. I think that's more likely for me.
The only problem I have with Italy is, where does he go? Because he can't go to Juventus or Inter. Adam Digby made that clear to me earlier on. And Milan aren't going to be in the Champions League, and whether they could even afford his wages. And that's sort of the same problem in England as well, because I suppose like Manchester United would be the perfect fit, because you can go there, new manager, be the star for 2 years, and then bugger off. But if
what I should have said was that I'm not sure he'll leave in the end.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's all this a big ego boost for Zlatan? Like one of those, like, I'm going. Is that what your friends?
I think it's a possibility.
There's going to be some campaign, isn't there, just for a short period of time to rename the Eiffel Tower.
There's Zlatan.
I can imagine there's going to be some awful marketing campaign from PSG. Tour Zlatan or something like that.
Do you think it's like when one of your friends quits Facebook and they're never coming back, and then everyone begs them to stay, and then they end up staying because they had no intention of going in the first place?
It could be something along those lines. I can't see him going to Italy, purely because, as you said, I don't know where he would go in Italy. I think there are a few more options available to him in England, and I could see him coming here for a season. I think what seems to be the common prediction of what he'll do is he'll have one more season in Europe, and then off to America. And I don't know. I can't see where he would go in. Milan is the only team I could see him going back to.
Yeah.
But is he going to want his final season in Italy? His final season in Europe to be, with a very poorly performing Milan side that are probably not even going to get in the top four of Serie A.
It depends on how
is Roma a possibility?
I'd be very surprised. It could be, just money wise, and I think it needs to be a Champions League team. I think that's probably, he's not going to. As I've wrote in a piece
Roma still could be.
Yeah, they're third place. I put in a Unibet piece today that Zlatan doesn't play on Thursdays. And I suppose that Leicester have kind of messed it up, because if they were on top, there'd be another team that'd be there. He's not going to go to Man City because of Pep Guardiola. I think Arsenal is I like the Arsenal angle, just to kind of, it changes their whole dynamic, and it's Wenger's last masterstroke to toughen them up and give them a bit more edge. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he could stay. I don't know if he'd have said that then. I mean, maybe it was just a big ploy to get everyone to want Zlatan to stay. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think it's made that sort of story a bit more interesting, and I think it makes Cavani's future a lot more interesting as well, because I don't know if they could replace both of them. But probably more on that as it progresses. The other one of the big games this weekend, Rich, would have made you feel probably worse and then better. It was Rennes and Lyon playing a fantastically entertaining 2-2 draw. The old cliche of a game of two halves, as Lyon went 1-0 up and got the second. You thought it was over, and then Rennes somehow came back into it, probably more for Lyon's downfall. But Rich, an excellent game of football, and one that it was great that it came on the back of everyone saying, "Oh, Ligue 1's crap, look at the gap," and PSG can win 9-0. And this is why we love this league. This is why we watch this league. Got young players, dazzling, unpredictable game. It had everything.
It did. It was. If I try and look at it from a neutral perspective, a great game. If I look at it from a Rennes perspective, it was bloody awful for 70 minutes. Because we were first half dreadful, really. Defence was just nowhere to be seen. Armand, yet again, I think, has really been showing his age, as he's done in quite a few matches this season. I don't quite get why Zefan was picked at left back.
Because you wrote in the preview, as a change of slightly when I saw L'Equipe's predicted lineup that you'd gone for Ludovic Ball, and that to me made more sense.
He's back, he's back from injury.
Didn't Zefan win you the other match against Lyon from left back?
He did, yeah, playing left wing. Back in those days. So it was 2-0 down after an hour. I did fear that Rennes hadn't got that sort of steely side to them that could produce a fight back. I'm not having that the substitutes were a masterstroke by Corbis. I think you look at the goals; it was just sheer luck. Interestingly enough,
he did bring Fabio on to score a goal. That was not the more for a penalty for Diane. Actually, he's missed the penalty. He is. But interestingly, they have awarded. It seems like they've awarded the second goal as a Raphael own goal now. Yeah,
I think when you look at it, it was definitely an own goal. I think Boga's shot was going wide, or just hitting the post. It certainly wasn't going in before Raphael flicked it in. But credit to Rennes, absolutely credit to Rennes for fighting back. I didn't think they had it in them. So perhaps that's a real positive sign of the effect of Corbis, is that he has been able to instill some confidence in them, that when the chips are down, their heads don't drop. Yet again, I'm beginning to get sick of saying it almost. It was another great game from Dembele. There were a few instances where he showed his inexperience. He gave the ball away in a couple of dangerous areas.
I think we saw the best and the bad points of him, but for an 18-year-old that's going to happen. I think he gave the ball away before Leon's goal, and then for the second goal, for Rennes' second goal, he probably really should have picked out a pass, but went himself, and he got the lucky sort of bounce and it falls to Boga, and that it could have cost you the game in that respect. But he was trying things. He was making things happen.
He was trying things. He cleared one off the line.
Yeah.
He's just doing everything in his power to get that big move in the summer.
Yeah, I'm not going to make Rich give me an answer. I'm going to go to you, Jez. There was a story that Barcelona have had a €35 million bid for Dembele rejected. Is there any chance he's going to be in France next season?
It's a hell of a lot of money. I don't know. I mean, I could see maybe a transfer with a loan back for a season, possibly. I really think it would do him a lot of good to stay for at least one more year. So that's a possibility. But it's got to be so hard for any team in France, apart from the obvious one or two, to sort of turn down that kind of money.
And the whole story in general, Rich, was a bit weird one, because if Barcelona had genuinely offered that kind of money, would Rennes be able to reject it, or do you think this is Rennes the sort of up in the ante, like teams are willing to pay this much money? Where are the other bids going to come from?
I think this is them firing the starting pistol. I cannot believe Barcelona have come in off. They haven't been keeping an eye on him that long. It's impossible. He's only been around since November. Realistically.
And would you €35 million on turning up for one game?
Exactly. I cannot believe Barcelona have come in and off the back of, I don't know, say 5, 6, 7 games, said 35 mil. I can't believe that's happened. I just see it as a tactic now from Rennes and people behind the scenes of just firing that starting pistol to say, look, this is where we're rating him. We're rating him at a above €35 million player.
I think it sounds ridiculous. I completely agree. But then when you think about Martial, who is kind of similar story in that people had been talking about him for years before he'd actually set foot on a pitch as a professional, and then last year really started looking close to fulfilling all the promise and everything we'd heard about him.
Yeah.
I think Dembele is arguably done a lot more, a lot younger already. So if it was 80 million or whatever it could be for Martial, why not 35? I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous as I say it, but why not?
But in money terms, it works. Well, if they're going to pay 80 million for him, and this guy is at this level, why don't we want 40 million euros? And it's the same way that here, that now in England, teams in League Two can charge £15 for a ticket because the Premier League charges £60 for a ticket. Technically, it's a bargain, but it's still not sort of what it's worth in that respect. Martial wasn't worth 80 million. It probably still isn't. But if that's what if you want to get him, that's what you have to pay. So why shouldn't Rennes look for crazy amounts of money? It's like the Andy Carroll transfer. It's just like keep saying no until they keep going up until they stop offering you more money. Why not?
I personally just to perhaps to finish on that point, I do personally think he will stay next season in some form or another.
I think if he's back on loan, I think that's probably the most realistic way. If anyone puts in that kind of money, and that's always the big if. It's all right with these stories that so-and-so wants this, so-and-so's going to offer this. Until someone actually puts an offer down on paper, then yeah, it could stay. But I think as soon as that happens, I hope, as Jez says, maybe a loan move back would be great. But then I feel a bit stung by the whole Divock Origi situation on that one, so I'm not sure how beneficial that is. Maybe to a different club possibly, but it's when you go back to the club where you've already made it.
I'll let you off there comparing Ousmane Dembele.
you know what I mean. We'll go. I suppose we're going to go to relegation battle, but you've brought me onto the subject of Lille, so let's go into them first. And there's a really great stat come out, Jeremy. Your one was good about the Troyes 8 goals this season at home. Since Frederic Antonetti took over in November, Lille have played 17 games in Ligue 1. They've won 7, they've lost 4, and only 2 teams in the league have gained more points over that time. All hail the saviour and king, Mr. Antonetti. And I was shocked at that because we've been dreadful still at times. But yeah, obviously the inconsistencies of everyone else has come to pass, with Lille now up to 9th, hovering below the European places. Jeremy, from what you've seen, and if Sofiane Boufal is happier and starting to play, and we've got Eder making a contribution, 3 wins out the last 4, can you see any chance of Lille nicking into maybe 4th or 5th place? They're only 6 points behind. Or am I getting a little bit carried away with a couple of good weeks?
If you hadn't told me that stat, I'd have said no chance. But yeah, now I think it's a no-brainer. Again, just because of the nature of the league, it's a possibility, but I can't see it. Surely not. Surely Lyon have got enough about them now. It looks like Nice, I think, and 7-point head start. I still think they're extremely inconsistent.
Champions League has maybe been a bit too ambitious, but if PSG win the cups, then 5th gets a Europa League place, which we could get by going and beating PSG in the Stade de France next month anyway. But yeah, I don't 5-point gap in this league. It's both huge and tiny at the same time. The way this season has gone.
I think every team above them has already shown this year that they're capable of going on long unbeaten runs, and also capable of going on long whatever the opposite runs is. So if they manage to keep up their form, and I do think a lot of it turns on Boufal, who, as you said, I think he's probably received a couple of big kicks up the arse in recent weeks and is looking a lot better, a lot more sort of reined in and more of a team player, and his goal the other day was fantastic. If they can keep it up, I think they will creep up the table, but you sort of think there's a few above them. One of them at some point will get another run going as well. With Rennes' newfound mental strength.
Watch that crumble as we let Marseille win at the Velodrome on Friday. I think the interesting thing about Lille is who they have in their running. They have Saint-Etienne, they have Nantes, they have Monaco in their running. Win those games, and and we could be making a very serious argument for them getting that place, especially then when you look at Rennes, for example, don't have a particularly easy run in. They've got Marseille. I know they've got PSG still. So I think it's win those games against the teams above you.
Yeah.
And I think we can start to take that a bit more seriously. I think it starts week after next, or no, it's after the international break, isn't it? First week in April, they're away at Nantes. That's decided. I think you lose that game, and then I think we'll probably draw a line under that conversation, but win that, and then that's the crazy thing about it, though, isn't it? It's almost, you take it almost one game at a time.
You have to, yeah, which is great for a podcast that you do every week because it gives you something to talk about and another team to curse. And obviously,
again, they're 6 points off fourth, but 7 points off the relegation zone. So.
We're looking up, Jez. We're looking up. I wanted to put a bit of context into it. A big part of it has been the success of the defence, obviously, in front of Vincent Nyama, who's been superb. Still only conceded 24 goals all season, which only PSG have bettered. Adama Samaro, who years ago I thought was just an absolute donkey. Couldn't see him doing anything in this team whatsoever. Watched him for the CFA team, and now he is big stalwart of the defence, beside like Savali and Basha. I think the big one, the unexpected one, has been Ibrahim Amadou, who came from Nancy in the summer. Not a lot expected of him. Didn't play a lot at the start, but he's come into the sort of midfield three beside Mavuba, beside Obadi, and he's done superb. He's got everything. He's sort of all action. He's quite lanky, but he's strong. He can pass. He can tackle.
I thought he took his goal brilliantly the other
day.
Yeah,
really good finish. And he's shown a little bit of everything, which is kind of what they've been missing, because as we've said on many a podcast and many an article, when they had Mavuba, Gay and Valmont, it was so similar. He's got that little bit of Gay about him. He can be the defensive rock as well, and he's big and strong in the air. So yeah, he's been a bit of a revelation as well the second half of the season, which then helps people like Bufal and Benzia when he's playing, or Ronnie Lopez, to do their thing. So if you get a chance to watch Lille, watch out for Ibrahim Amadou. Definitely got a bright future ahead of him, hopefully. As Jez mentioned, the relegation battle, you're still technically possibly in, but I'm cutting the line at 10th place, which amazingly is Marseille on 39 points, which goes all the way down. It's only 6 points between them and Gazalek in 18th. And before we get to the relegation battle, we obviously, last week we said Toulouse, yeah, they're down, they're finished, and then they go and win 4-0, and then just breathe that little sign of life into their relegation battle. But Rich free of the bottom 5-1 at the weekend, which just confuses things even more. First of all, Toulouse, do they still have a chance, or is that gap of 7 points between them and Rams just far too big?
It's too much of a gap. No matter how much sort of Ben Yedder and Braithwaite may be on a two-man mission for Dubras, I don't see that. I don't see them making up that points. It's just they've left it too late. I think had they sort of capitalised on those couple of games after that sort of PSG series where they did play well, they put up a good performance in those games. They then had a couple of games after that where I think we discussed it previously. They perhaps let those PSG performances get the better of them. Sort of element of cockiness, I think, came into their game. I think had they kept up those performances and got some points from those games, and they've been sort of 3-4 points better off than they are, yes, that's a 3-4 point gap is doable, but I can't see them making up a 7 point gap.
Yeah, it's going to be,
especially as teams above them are, as Toulouse are winning, as you just said, teams above them are winning as well. So it's not like a Toulouse win is getting them gaining ground.
Like if Guingamp hadn't won or Reims hadn't got a point against Monaco, and if Gazalek hadn't beat Caen, you think, yeah, there's a chance here, but it's sort of to get that win against Bordeaux then, and for the games to go against them, it's probably one step forward, 2 back, and I hope by ruling them out again that they go and do it again, and we can get a real battle going. But let's sort of run down who have got Marseille. And I think we're always going to say too big a team to go down, but the 5 draws in a row, that home record still exists. I'm not sure they are too big to go down, and just the more they get sucked into it, the pressure's on them more than anyone else to not be in that race, Jez, and they could sort of just implode, and that's if they do get dragged down, because you look at the table and you think, well, they're 10th, they're okay, but if they start showing down at sort of 15, 16, 17, I think the problems could really, really mount.
5 wins in a row, that they're unbeaten in 6 as well.
Well, no, they lost against.
Well, in all competitions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think they're too big to go down.
Yeah, and that's the obvious statement.
Yeah, I think. I don't think it's going to be pretty at all for the rest of the year. I think everything's only going to get more depressive there. But I think they've got enough about them and enough of a gap between them and third from bottom that they'll be okay. But
by enough, do you mean they have Steve Mandanda, who pretty much is keeping them up single-handedly or two-handedly?
The last couple of matches, it's been ridiculous. It really has been a one-man show. And not only that, but it sounds like he even did the coach's job at half-time against Lorient by basically rousing the troops. And he looks really fed up. And you and I discussed this week how he seems to be cozying up to Olas a little bit on Twitter, which could make things interesting.
I'm a goalkeeper. Get me out of here.
I don't think anything's going to happen between now and the rest of the season to make anyone around there feel that much happier about life. But I do think they're too good to go down.
I'd just like to see the reaction if a couple of teams win and they still don't, and they don't, to see what happens if they start dropping down the positions, to see a little bit of panic set in. The other teams, you've got Stade de Reims, who got a draw against Monaco, scored 4 against Bordeaux the other week. When you look at the players they've got, I think they've got enough options to really go on a mini run. That front three, Charbonnet, Depreville and Bufuma, look quite exciting though, that they can make things happen. And as long as they can keep Charbonnet away from back passes, they could be okay.
I was going to say he made things happen at both.
One, why was he there? just clear it, mate. Just clear it.
That's the key for them, is they're scoring goals.
Yeah.
And as cliched as it is, you score goals, you give yourself a chance in every game. Really, it was. I know, Monaco perhaps have taken their eye off the ball of late, but that showed some character to come back twice, away to Monaco. So that again showed a little bit more, and perhaps was a little bit more, perhaps not only just for them in terms of demonstrating how strong they are, but as a warning shot to the other teams around them, that they're not one of these teams who are scared of, they're used to this sort of dogfight near the bottom. They've been doing it for a couple of seasons now, so they're quite experienced at it, and that I think will benefit them. It's why I think that they will probably just about stay up.
I suppose the same can be said for Guingamp as well. We've got the 2-0 win against St Etienne at the weekend, again showing that they've got a fight in them. They're at home, obviously that always helps, and that's a much needed win for Gourvenec's team on the weekend.
Yeah, huge. I mean, like you said about Toulouse, it must be frustrating that these teams get a win and everyone around them did as well. But then obviously, the other teams having won, you lose and you're slipping down and losing touch. So, every team's kind of got it in their own hands at the moment. If they manage to get enough points between now and the rest of the season, they should be okay. And Guingamp, again, not to the same extent as Marseille, but I do think they've got enough quality there that they should be staying up. Even if you want to put out the cliches, that they've proven pretty good cup team in the last few years, and got 8
every game's cup final.
Yeah.
All the cliches today.
I expect them to be okay, but I didn't really expect them to be struggling this much at this stage of the season. So you never know.
I think with Guingamp, you look at their next 2 games, away at Reims and then home to Montpellier.
It's 2 huge games.
6 points there, and they're probably safe.
2 proverbial 6-pointers there.
But they're probably going to need to.
The one that's crazy because they seem to, until last weekend, they seem to have been on such good form, and they're still down there. They still haven't escaped from there at all.
They won 3 in a row, and they're still only on 36 points. You think, God, how bad actually was it when Corbis was in charge? But them, Bordeaux, Bastia, and Angers all lost at the weekend. The one. I'll let you go back to your point, Richard. The one that stood out to me when I was looking at that table for the Lille stat, Angers were third bottom when you're going from it's week 15 to week 30. So the past 50 weeks they've picked up the third lowest amount of points. I think they're kind of one of the ones we should be worried about. As much as we'll praise them through the season, they're slipping, and they're slipping fast.
They are. Yes. Sorry, go on.
Go on. No.
Go on, Rich.
They are, and it is quite worrying because I wrote a little piece today in which I used the words about Sheikh and Doyen that he's probably done enough to keep Angers up, and I'm like, probably shouldn't have written that because looking where they are in the table, looking at their form, it doesn't look good. They do have one of the more kinder run-ins. They're arguably. You look at their run-in, the biggest team that they play in terms of position in the table is Lille. Every other team they are playing is a team that we have mentioned in this little piece here about relegation trouble.
The problem with that is, I think that may be a bad thing for them because, as we mentioned before, the way they play is to play on the counter and sort of defend well and hit on the break. And if you're playing teams that are below you, where you're maybe expected to go and dominate, they're probably better off playing the teams above them.
Well, it's another entry for cliche bingo. It's at the end of the season, the teams you don't want to be playing are those fighting to avoid relegation. So arguably, use that cliche and perhaps
it's a mini league, and you've got to win the 6 points.
We're taking them all off tonight. I think Bastia will be okay. They go on little runs, and they're always sort of good enough to get by. Lorient, I think, have showed again as well. They've got enough to stay roughly where they are, if not get enough points. And when you're trying to make a prediction, I'm thinking, well, if guys want to get out of that, who are they better than? And I'm not sure, Jeremy, if they're better than anyone else above them.
I think what Rich said about scoring goals is a really important point. I think Angers are struggling. As he said, Reims are scoring, Guingamp, Montpellier are scoring enough, I think. Ajaccio, and sketchy win the other day with one of those lucky looping headers, but I'm not sure that they're capable of scoring enough goals to get them out of there.
I'm not sure.
What they did, coming back from such an awful start, such an amazing run, kind of would like them to stay up, but I feel like they've had their sort of glory days earlier on in the season.
They've had their day in the sun.
Yeah, exactly, and I worry that they sort of shot their load.
That moves us on to Bordeaux, which we've not mentioned yet, who obviously have sacked Willy Sagnol this week. Jeremy has wrote an excellent article on the site, FrenchRugbyLeague.com, and you can see why. Jerry, you outlaid it about the attack hasn't been great. He's shuffling around formations, and just looking at that, the defence against Toulouse on the weekend, even looking at Sani, who he's never been the best defender. He's always looked strong and sort of capable. He's getting out-muscled by Wissam Ben Yedder, who obviously got a strong upper body, but Sani should have been swatting him away, and then brings him down, penalty, you're sent off, your team's beat, and sort of Willy Sagnol's consigned to his fate. How much trouble do you think they're in relegation-wise? Because it's not looking good. Maybe they're looking for a reaction under Ulrich Rami, but are they bad enough that they could go down?
Well, we've seen already this season that a coach being replaced by 2 or 3 people together, led by a former goalkeeper, works really well. Like Montpellier lasted like a month or so before Nicolas realised he made a mistake. So I'm not sure that bodes well.
Yeah.
Again, you kind of, the instinct is to say that they're good enough to stay up, but and the only style of play of theirs which seems effective at the moment, which is lump it up to Diabate up front, is the kind of go-to tactic for teams fighting at the bottom. So maybe that'll stand them in good stead. But there really is such a bad atmosphere there, and you can rely on Ajaccio fans to create an atmosphere, Reims and Guingamp fans to create an atmosphere to get behind the team. But at Bordeaux, the fans really seem to have turned against the team, and that's just the fans that turn up. A big stadium is fantastic when it's full and behind you, but when it's half empty and those that are there aren't really starting with much good faith in you, then instead of a 12th man, it's almost like taking someone away from the
man
team.
Down. Yeah, I mean they've still got a really good home record. They've got the 6th best home record in the league, although they haven't won the last 3. That might be their sort of saving grace. Whereas guys like have got like the 17th best home record in the league. Sadly, I think the table might finish, the bottom 3 might finish the way it is now. But I kind of hope there's a few more twists and turns and we get a little bit more excitement for the end, because we don't want it to be all a foregone conclusion. Let us know who you think will go down on Twitter or on here or Facebook, whatever. Let us know, get in the conversation. Last topic I wanted to finish on was to do with the France squad. Am I right, it's St. Paddy's Day that Didier Deschamps picking his squad, 17th?
Yeah.
Yep, 2 days from now. Apparently in goal, Kante's going to be in there. He made this a pre-selection list. Jeremy and Richard, I think the biggest one, the one that's caused probably the most controversy, especially in England, obviously, is Dimitri Payet, who is absolutely killing it for West Ham. I don't think anyone, even Payet's biggest fan from watching the league, would have imagined what he would do this season. He's been absolutely outstanding, a wonderful free kick against Manchester United. Jeremy, with this,
as you said on Twitter, not bad for someone coming from a crap league.
Exactly. Yeah, League One's crap, but all your scouts end up here watching them. But is Deschamps being a little bit stubborn here by not looking at picking Payet? Because with the troubles that Valbuena's had, and not even the off-the-field troubles, but the on-the-field troubles, surely Payet's a perfect sort of replacement to play that sort of playmaker, guy in the middle, make things happen, can drift wide, get balls in, dead ball expert. Can you see any reason, apart from maybe he just doesn't like him as a person, why you wouldn't pick Dimitri Payet?
Up till now, in previous squads, I would say that you can probably make an argument for not having picked him, but I don't think I could come up with any kind of excuse if he's not picked this Thursday. I mean, Deschamps got a history of sort of giving players a chance, and if they don't impress, then that's generally their chance gone. But at the same time, there have been some exceptions, including Valbuena is one of them, Gignac another recent one, where if a player really shows that he deserves a second chance, he'll get it. And I think I don't know how much of it is PR, but Payet himself, I think this week or last week, said in the past I haven't been the greatest team player, I haven't really given enough to when I've been picked for France, so I know I need to show more as well. So there's an element of that, but he on form, he's clearly one of the best French players at the moment, and well, he's not exactly the same profile as Valbuena. Valbuena won't be picked this week. And yeah, I think it would be ridiculous if he was ignored again.
Because who else is it that can play that position? You're looking at Ben Arfa, who's up and down form now for Nice, and after that,
I don't think Ben Arfa will be picked. I'll be really shocked if not as shocked as Payet being left out, but I'll be quite surprised if Ben Arfa is included.
Oh, that would be the ultimate snub, isn't it? Is Ben Arfa Payet not? Because we're all of the opinion that Ben Arfa has been fantastic for sort of a minute in a game, but there's not been a great deal of end product lately. He can't not pick Payet this time. He cannot. I would it just beggars belief if he doesn't. I can't see him not picking him on Thursday.
I can almost imagine. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that was Deschamps' thinking last time with Gignac and Ben Arfa, which worked to an extent, but obviously the whole context of what happened during the Germany match and for the England match, it's difficult to draw any conclusions about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Deschamps sort of picked them half hoping that they didn't do much, so that would be the end of that debate and can move on.
Yeah.
And possibly the same might be in his thinking this time, but he's got to be in the squad. He's got to be.
If you pick Payet and say give him like 90 minutes over the 2 games and he does nothing, you can go, well look, I tried him. He's not the same player. Blah blah blah. Gone. And then you get into a bit of stubbornness. It's the same stubbornness I think he showed with Griezmann. He showed with Lacazette last season. You need to play these players in the position that they are excelling at for their club. If you're going to play them in a position where they don't play, then yeah, they're not going to be as effective in the international stage. So there's definitely something in that, Jez. Anyone else that you think one point maybe shouldn't be in the squad or should be in the squad?
I think I'd like to see Gamero have another go. I think he's been quietly doing a great job in Spain. And Lacazette's the one that I'm interested in, and I'd be interested to hear what Rich thinks. We spoke a bit about him, I think, last week, and he's clearly improving a lot. But that goal the other day against Rennes was his first goal from open play all season away from home. And although he scored, he also missed 2 good chances to put that game away. And I wonder if, even that, if one of them had gone in, he's in the squad. The fact that he missed them, that might have made Deschamps' decision.
I think he might get picked. I think Lacazette may just sneak in, on the basis of we've still not any idea really what's going to be happening with Benzema. Sounds silly of me to say this, but is Martial on the best of form recently? Is Giroud on the best of form recently? I think
Giroud one of his worst runs since joining Arsenal, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a case of, I think Lacazette has shown a lot more promise. We're starting to see him getting back to somewhere close to his form of last season, or certainly the start of last season. I think he might sneak in. I'm with Jeremy. I would like to see Gamero be given a shot. Somebody else from Spain. Sorry, go on.
I wasn't sure about Gamero, so I've not really heard much. I just checked. He hasn't scored in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games.
Doesn't seem to be a stipulation for a striker.
I wasn't sure myself. I thought I'd missed, but yeah, he hasn't scored in 7 games. Anyway.
But yeah, somebody else from Spain. It pains me to say it because it would be the failure of not picking Castile would be Areola. I think he's I don't watch. I'm not going to profess. I watch a lot of Spanish football, but all the stories coming out of Spain is that he is performing heroics.
And I saw Cedric Bakambu scored twice from the other day in Europa League. I was like, what? What's going on over there?
Scored twice in the league.
I think now is the moment that we start to introduce him to the squad, because he is going to be the number one, long-term number one. And I think this, these friendly games, and arguably even then into Euro 2016, is where he starts to be introduced to the squad environment.
I totally got why in the World Cup that Alondro was the third choice keeper. He brings more than just being sort of a goalkeeper. He's the experience. He's made the most caps in the league ever. I think you've got Lloris is 29, Mondonda's 30. Why not have a young, what was you saying, who's 23 years old in the squad? There's no reason why not. And then he can be the man for the World Cup, if not the next European Championships, if he continues to to progress, which maybe he'd be 27 by then. If he's not made it by then, he probably never will. I know it means that Costil drops out, but Rich, I'm sure you'll even admit there has been a few lapses.
It's not been his best season. I mean, he's still a fantastic goalkeeper, but no, there have been a few mistakes crept in this season.
And at this stage, and it was Jeremy's.
I must be ill.
You must be something. Get this man a doctor. You're not going to learn anything, Jez, from putting Ruffy or Costil in. I mean, if you need to call them up, he knows what they can do. But I think bringing Ariel in, let them see in the squad how he fits in, I think that'd be a smart decision.
Well, it sounds like Ruffier's out anyway.
Yeah.
That he and Deschamps came to some kind of agreement before the last squads were announced. I agree. I think as long as there's actually Mandonda's been performing so well, there's a few calls now for him to be promoted to number one, which is only harsh on Loris in that he really hasn't done much wrong recently. Got a bit of blame for one of the goals against Arsenal, but he's still performing well.
He's never let France down, has he?
No, exactly. And it's just, it's a pity for Mandanda that he's got such a good keeper established ahead of him. But as you said, they've both got the experience in general and in tournament football that, I don't think you necessarily need a third keeper in the style of Londres, and I think it's definitely time for Areola to be budded.
I've got two questions for you to make some decisions. The first one, who's Deschamps going to drop for Kante, Jeremy Sissoko or Schneiderlin? Who drops out?
Schneiderlin.
Rich?
I think he likes Sissoko a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say Sissoko is a Deschamps player, so I do think Schneiderlin will be the one.
My only issue with that is I think Kante can do everything that Sissoko brings to that team, is whether Deschamps can trust him, and that is a friendly. Why not try him? And I think most Newcastle fans would agree that Sissoko.
I think there's a bit more. Arguably, there's a little bit more positional versatility. I think with Sissoko,
exactly.
maybe that's what's just given him the edge in these squads of late. I think.
It's quite worrying that someone like, although Deschamps can love him as much as he wants, I think Newcastle fans are struggling to see why he's even playing for them, never mind getting into the French national team. That's one of, I think, Deschamps', it's that loyalty stroke stubbornness side that he's shown a lot. The other question is, you've got 6 forwards to take to the Euros, forward stroke wingers. Jeremy, what's your 6?
I thought it was going to be an Umtiti question.
Well, he's not getting there, is he? That's not happening.
Well, see, I'd have him ahead of Sacco every time.
Oh,
again, he's one of Deschamps' favourites. Who are my 6?
Who are your 6?
Definitely Griezmann, definitely Martial. You know who I'm definitely not having.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah. I think Giroud deserves to be there.
Okay.
I really want to say Fekir. I'm going to say, I don't think, it breaks my heart, I don't think Fekir will be ready in time.
Nah, I think he said it's not his priority as well.
Yeah. I'd really like Lacazette in there.
Okay.
I still get confused by the, forward as in striker, or are we including kind of
I think he always puts Payet or Valbuena in as the forward, so they'd be part of your 6 if you wanted to be. So you've got 4.
I'd have, at the moment in time, I'll jump in. Very rudely, I'll jump in. I would have,
right.
Purely because I agree with the players.
I think those 4. I think that, yeah.
I would probably at this moment in time, I would have Payet over Valbuena.
On form for their clubs this season, there's absolutely no debate at all. The only thing with Valbuena is he's always performed for France, and Payet hasn't had many chances, but hasn't yet. But yeah, certainly on current form.
The last one that I'd put in, I think, would have to be Kingsley Coman. But that unpredictability, that little bit of something different, just giving the ball, no fear, home Euros. let him show what PSG are missing. I think he could really light up the tournament if given enough minutes, even if it was off the bench. I think he just adds that a little bit of something different.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Rich is Mana Dembele.
You know what? I'm, as you were saying those names, I'm thinking, I'm sat here. Can I legitimately bring his name up? I think you know what? He can be included in the discussion.
Yeah, I think
as crazy as it sounds, I think he can be, because I think he offers everything that you've just said about Kingsley Coman.
Mm.
You know, he offers that unpredictability. He offers that spark, that, you know, a kid that doesn't know any different, and will play like he knows no different. I don't think he will make it, but I think if he carries on in this form until the end of the season, I think he poses that serious question as to whether he should be.
Yeah.
Are we going to mention the other name that came up today?
What was the other name?
There's a rumor that Ribery sort of kind of
No.
impliedly ruled himself back in.
Yeah, that's. I'm also available for Scotland if the one's looking for someone. I think there's a bit of much chance of that happening. Yeah.
You know what? Again, it wouldn't surprise me if Deschamps picks him over bloody Payet.
Imagine.
I think West Ham fans may go into meltdown.
It'd be the pitchforks would be.
If France start the Euros with Benzema and Ribery up front, I think I'll go into meltdown as well.
So we're going to have Sissoko on the right wing, Ribery on the left, put him up front. Job done. With Sacco and
Ben Arthur and Nasri on the bench.
Adil Rami and Philippe Mexes.
The most undeserving 11. There you go. There's the little team to come up with.
There's an 11
over the next couple of weeks. Who's the most undeserving?
That's 11
of players who have been previously kept.
We'll have to do that. On that bombshell, we'll have to call it an evening. Thank you everyone for listening, live or on download. Let us know your questions on Twitter, Facebook, email, on here when we do it live. And from me, Jeremy and Rich, it's goodbye for now.